guys, and welcome back to Project Z Garage. My name is Ansar, and today I'm with my brother Al, and we're working on my sister's 2017 Land Rover Discovery. She called me up. She needs to get the brake pads changed on it. So this is the first time I'm ever trying to do a brake job change on this. This is the HSE version. It's really nice. It's got a lot of functions and features. It has a cool gimmicky dial that comes up when you start it to change the gears. There's Al. So first thing, we jacked the car up. We did it underneath the airbag because this does have an airbag system. You don't want to jack up on the sides. Well, there might be a jacking point on the side, but if you jack in the middle, the wheels on this car, with the way the suspension set up, is meant to keep the wheels on the ground when you're going over things. So it's a lot harder to get the wheel off the ground if you try to jack it from anywhere else. So Al's got the rims on. So she already got the brake warning light came on, so we're gonna have to also change the sensor too. We don't have that right now. We ordered it, but at least for now we want to change the brakes so that they're at least safe for her to drive. So the next thing we have to do is disengage the electric parking brake, which is back here. I did some research, and online you need to start the car, make sure the wheels are chacked, put it in neutral, and then disengage the parking brake. Then from there you can disconnect the plug off of the electric parking brake, and you can turn the car off and work on it, or you know, finish the job, because you're gonna have to do the same thing on the other side too.
Brother went inside and he took off the handbrake, and right when he took off the handbrake, what we did was then unplugged the control. So once you unplug that, we should be ready to go. So now we're gonna have to take off this bolt right here and the one down here, and we should be able to get this piston out.
All right guys, so we removed the electric handbrake, so the box in the back, and then we are putting in this, what size is that, Al?
T45, I believe.
All right, we put a T45 into the actual shaft there, and we're going to turn it to release the electric piston that's in there. That way it'll allow us to push the actual brake caliper piston in, and we won't damage anything. Also, we removed the bolt at the bottom of the caliper here. That was a 13. So now we can actually either put a screwdriver or something in here to push the piston back a little bit, and then we can remove the caliper. All right guys, so we put a G-clamp on this to push the piston in, and this comes off relatively easy. Look how easy it's loose now that the piston's in all the way. Now we can take the brake pads off, which honestly these don't look too bad. So it might have been,
since you ordered it, it's got to be the front then.
so most likely it's the front brake pads, but since we have new brake pads, we'll change them out anyway, and we'll go from there. All right guys, so we put the new pads on. We're gonna tighten up these screws here in the back, the 13mm ones that hold the caliper on, and now those are tight. So now we're gonna put back on the electric motor for the parking brake. But before we do that, we need to press the brake a couple of times to push the piston back out, and then we need to screw in that shaft counterclockwise till it touches before we put the electric parking brake back on. This is our T45, and we're going to put it into the shaft of where the electric parking brake goes, and we're going to turn that counterclockwise till it sets. So that's pushing the electric piston in to press against the piston of the caliper. Now that's good. Now we can put the electric brake back on. Be careful with this, because you got to get it to fit back in properly. I know it's kind of dark, so you're gonna might have to move it around a little bit so it fits in there. Now the screws that hold the electric motor in are a T30. So now we're going to tighten it up. Remember, this is plastic, so you don't want to be too tight on it. How many pounds do you think, Al?
Barely anything. You just want to just touch and just have a little bit of grip. So I just do like
Maybe 20, 10, 15?
yeah.
I mean, when you take it off, you can kind of feel how tight it was in there to begin with.
Need your help.
Yeah, you got to make sure this electric motor is seated properly onto that spline that's in there. You can see it's a star shape.
Good.
Guys, so we plugged everything back in. This is on now, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna test it. So right now the car is in neutral. We checked the front wheels to make sure the car doesn't move. Al's gonna take his foot off the brake, and then I'm gonna take this pry bar, and we should be able to turn this relatively easy. Oh, there we go. So we know that the wheel is loose right now, so we can easily turn it. Now Al's gonna put it in park and put the parking brake on. Well, not put it in park. He's gonna put the parking brake on, let go of the brake. The brake's off, and you can see I can't turn this at all. One more time, take it off. You can hear the motor working, and now it could turn all relatively easy without a problem. We could turn this. It turns very easy. So we're good. So the backs are done. Now we can work our way to the front and do the front brakes now. All right, guys. So we got the wheel back on. The lug nuts in the manual says they should be tightened to 103 pound-feet of torque. So we set our torque wrench to 103 pounds. And then we're just gonna go in a star pattern. You know, start from whichever side. And then just do opposites in a star pattern. And that's it. What I suggest also to do is after maybe 10-15 miles to check them again and make sure the torque is right, because these aluminum wheels, after you drive them and from the heat of the wheels contracting and everything, it can loosen the lug nut. So definitely tighten it one more time after you drive it for a little while. Now let's get to the front wheels and start doing the front brakes. Guys, now we're gonna start working on the front wheel. Al's gonna start taking off the rim. Definitely having an air vent makes this a lot easier. And you can knock each side, and there we go. Now right off the bat, you can see how low these brakes are. You can barely see it. It has any pad left. Super thin. So these definitely needed to be changed right away. So unlike the rare ones where you have an electric handbrake, the fronts don't, so we can just normally change the brakes like you would any other car. What we're gonna do is we're gonna put the C-clamp on this and relieve some pressure off the piston to make some space. Then we're gonna loosen the nuts at the back here and flip it up and remove the pads. Alright, so this is what I do. I put a G-clamp on the brake pad and then have the back part on the back of the caliper. Make sure it's not touching on anything important, and then you just crank it down and you can see how it moved away. It actually pushed that piston in. Now you don't want to force it too much. If it's turning nice, it shouldn't take too much pressure to push it in, just hand strength, and we were able to push it all the way in. Now we're going to loosen this off, and from there we should be able to take the caliper. We'll flip the caliper up and get the brake pads out. Also, here's the sensor right here. Bring the light down a little bit out so you can see. Yep, there you go. So this is the brake sensor, the brake sensor right here. So we're gonna have to pull that out before we lift the caliper up. All right, guys. So we got it loose. We got the brake pads off. And as you can see, these things are shot. They're done. And you can see where the sensor holds on. There's like a little metal clamp right here, and it gets pushed in, and the sensor is here. As you can see, the metal that touches has been broken off, and you need to replace this. We're still waiting for that part to come in, but once you get it and you put the caliper back on, this just pushes into the actual pad, and then you gotta connect the back, run it along the way. There's a plug. I'll show you the plug when we disconnect this one so you can see it. But now that's the old one. Now let's see what a new one looks like.
We're in the box over here.
Alright guys, so here's a brand new pad. As you can see, it's way thicker. This is a new one. It already has the braking plate on it, so you just gotta pop these on, and that's what we'll do. We'll put these on, put a little bit of anti-seize, like noise reduction paste on each back, and then we'll plug them back in, install them back, and tighten everything up. Alright guys, so we got the new brake pads on. They all look good. We put the brake lube or whatever on the outside of each of the brake pads. We've got the sensor there. We have to snake it through the top of the caliper. We should be able to probably put it on once the caliper is on, so we'll do that now. Guys, so where the sensor is, you have to follow this back, the wire back, and it goes behind this plastic, the wheel well. So in the wheel well, you're gonna have to remove or loosen the front piece here, because if you look back here, let's see if you can see it. Yeah, if you look right back here, there's the plug. So you're gonna unplug it from there and then route it back all the way. It clips behind the main part of the wheel here and runs to the brake pad. Alright guys, that's pretty much all it is to do your brakes on a Land Rover Discovery. This is a 2017. The fronts are very easy. A couple of bolts. Make sure that you torque your wheels after you're done to 103 pounds around there. Also, as you're doing the brake job, the brake fluid reservoir is under this cover here. So it's like 4 screws that they're hand tight. Take them off. Also keep an eye on your brake fluid so you make sure it doesn't overflow. Also, you can also check and see if it's low, if after you do the job, if you need to add some. Sometimes if it's really dirty, you might want to do a full flush of the system. But you know, you just want to keep track of that as you're pushing the piston in. That's going to fill up with brake fluid. And I think that's pretty much all to it. How long did it take us to do this, Al?
3 hours?
Yeah, 2-3 hours with taking our time. I mean, you probably do it a lot faster if you're not videoing it and we're trying to get like shots. But relatively easy, very quick to do. Really nice car, a lot of features. Now, also when you're done doing your brake pads, if you're doing rotors or pads, or if you're just doing pads, it's a good idea to break them in. What I suggest doing is do some very slow stops at first, just to make sure that you have brakes to begin with, because you don't want to go fast and press and then all of a sudden you don't have brakes. So definitely do a couple short stops to make sure your brakes are good. Then what you want to do is a couple of medium speed and bring the brakes, come down, not to a full stop, maybe like 5 miles an hour, and then go back up to like 20 and then bring it back down to 5, and then, you know, raise your speed maybe 2 or 3 more times just to make sure the brakes are bedded into the rotors. And that's pretty much wraps up this video, guys. I want to thank everyone that's been subscribing. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. If you're new to the channel and you like the videos, please hit that subscribe button. All right, guys, we'll catch you in the next video.